We ready? What's up, everybody? How y'all tonight? Just trying to check everybody out, seeing everybody's comments. This is cool. It's gonna be a good show. It's gonna be a good show. You guys pumped for it? So so y'all know, just so you're aware, the main topic tonight is going to be about. It's going to be the stigma on suicide. So we're going to use this as a disclaimer, and if it's a little bit too close to home, if it hurts, I totally get it. You guys are ready to leave. Now would be a great chance to do it, because we're going to talk statistics on all sorts of different things that are happening. So I do have a guest, great guy. I met him. It's going to be a great show. So without further ado, we're bringing a guest, and I'm going to let him introduce himself, and we're going to go from there. All right. Feel free to engage, ask questions, make statements, do everything you guys want. He's here for us as well. So I'm gonna bring him out, you guys.
Hey, everybody.
And here he is.
Sorry. It's a little choppy on my end. I don't know.
No, you're good. You're good.
Everybody else. So I am Alex Howard. I am currently a staff sergeant in the Georgia Army National Guard. I guess the big thing is I just went through a suicide prevention class where we talked a lot about the counseling side of things. I am happy to answer any questions you guys have. I know that we had talked before about some of the statistics. So I do want to throw some statistics out there real quick at the very beginning. So I'm sure you guys have all heard about the 22 a day. That is,
and that was used to be called. What that used to be called?
So I'm not actually sure like how it originated. I know that I've only heard of it since probably about 2010 ish. But again, that's just my first real full-time missions with the Army. So I haven't heard of it before then. I'm sure it still existed, but that's when the 22 a day movement, so to speak, started, as far as me hearing about it. And what it refers to is the statistic is that approximately 22 soldiers across all three components, or service members across all boards, that's Marine Corps, Army, Navy, Coast Guard, the little redheaded stepchild. You gotta have fun, right? But it's that 22 service members a day at least attempt to take their own life. So that's the 22 a day. But beyond that, and I am going to look down because I have them the numbers written down here. So for 2019, the U.S. population as a whole was approximately 330 million. Of that, there were 48,344 reported suicides. So that's 100% it was a suicide. And those are the ones that got reported. So there are many more that didn't get reported, or either maybe didn't get ruled as a suicide. So like drug overdose.
Wow.
Who's to say whether it was a suicide or an accidental overdose?
They'll never tell us.
Right. So the 48,344 was the reported suicides for 1 year. Unreported suicides you can expect that to be 5% to 25% more than that 48,344 that just go unreported. And then the big thing to me, in my opinion, is, again, on that 48,344, 40 to 100 times that number have suicidal behaviors, had suicidal behaviors in 2019.
Wow.
So that means that they were showing some sort of inclination to move towards suicide.
Just the thought.
And I know everybody asked the question, well, what are the signs? And honestly, truly, it's going to depend on the person. It's not always going to be somebody standing on the edge of a building or the edge of a bridge. It's not always going to be as blatantly obvious as that. And I know a lot of people have heard the whole giving items away, not caring. Those are still signs, but just because someone's not giving away all their stuff doesn't mean that they aren't having thoughts of suicide. So it's not an all-inclusive thing. But it's always going to depend on the person. So,
wow.
Especially right now, I see in the comments that it's worse now with the pandemic. That's something that we have talked about. And especially now, recognizing those symptoms of your friends, of people you know, it's a lot harder because those coworkers that you're used to seeing on a daily basis, you don't get this. You may not see their faces every day. If you're one of the few that gets to work from home, then you surely aren't seeing them every day. So you don't know what is going on in their life. You don't know. You can't see their face to tell if they're sad, if they're just not feeling themselves. But so again, we talked about. I know me and you talked about this before.
Yeah, absolutely.
As human beings, you can kind of get a feel if somebody's not doing great. You do. It's
right.
And you tend to just overthink it or work it out in your mind as, hey, they're just having a bad day. But saying one word to that person, quite honestly, can save their life. I know that you've got a few people that I know for a fact from other people telling me that you've helped. I know you're using your platform. I mean, this first show, your first YouTube show, is on suicide awareness and the stigma behind suicide. So, I mean, that speaks volumes to who you are. I appreciate it. But it's one little word. This podcast. I mean, even if you guys that are watching, even if you don't feel comfortable, maybe intervening or saying anything, share this link. Once it's on YouTube, it's always on YouTube, right?
Correct. Until I delete it.
So, I mean, if you guys definitely, like I said, it takes one word. Literally, just asking somebody how they're doing, showing that you care.
That's a shame, because I do. I literally have 2 people, and I could read the text messages that I've challenged them to every day to message me. I don't care if it's, hey, I'm okay. I don't care if it's how was your day? I don't care what it is, as long as they message me. And since they've messaged me, I've actually gotten the message saying that I'm saving their life every fucking day. And I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how that makes me feel. Now, sometimes it puts a little bit of pressure on me, but on the flip side of it, my pressure is nothing compared to their pressure. So that's what I've been doing.
So just reading some of the comments. So, and this is something we did talk about in the class. There are definitely times that no matter what you say, no matter what you do, it's not going to help.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it is. But in the instances where you saying something could make a difference, or asking, or just showing that interest, it definitely from, and I'll say the name and give you guys the website here in a second of the class that I did take. But from their research globally, not just military, but globally, with Fortune 500 companies, police departments, everything else, those that give off the indications far outweigh the ones that don't.
Right.
So at that time, it's a statistic type of thing.
You know, so when you're going to class, or you've been to this class to just kind of like the telltale signs of certain things, correct? I mean, is that I forgot, really, to be honest with you.
So that was kind of like the first day is just kind of going through. So they actually have this entire model. And again, I'm going to keep referring to this. I actually have a little card that I keep in my wallet now after this class. And I believe they also have it on their website. But there's actually a full, they call it the pathway for assisting life. So the first thing that you need to do once you, or if you have an inkling that somebody is having those thoughts, the very first thing, and this was really hard for me personally, because I am not one, I'm a very logical type of person. I bet you never would have guessed that. I'm a very logical type of person. Math kind of works for me. So suicide isn't something that, do I get depressed sometimes? Sure. But suicide isn't something that I personally can grasp I mean, just like some of the comments, it's a permanent solution for a temporary problem. I can't,
exactly.
Me personally, I can't wrap my head around that. But the very first thing you need to do is get rid of your own biases, get rid of your own thoughts on the subject, because it's not about you. It's about that person. So before anything else, you need to identify your own biases towards the subject. And again, I love the title, Breaking the Stigma, because there is this stigma with suicide that just because you're thinking about it or because you've attempted it, you're weak. That's not that's totally wrong. Everybody has their own breaking points. It's different for everybody. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean anything. Everybody needs help at some point.
Of course.
You've got to realize that and get rid of your biases. And then the first step is connecting with suicide. And what that means is asking those questions and going into what's going on, what's happening in their life to put them in that frame of mind. And one thing that the class was very, very keen on was straight up asking the question, are you thinking about committing or completing a suicide? Another thing, professionally, clinically, it's not committing suicide, because that just furthers the stigma. It's something wrong. You're committing something. You're complete. The person, now the term is completing suicide, just to help get rid of that stigma. But asking the question, are you thinking about completing a suicide? Because a lot of times people don't necessarily put it in those terms. It's more of a, and this is coming from the psychologist that that taught the class. Again, it's not. I see in the comments. It's Jess. You're totally right. I can't put myself in those shoes, so I can't say this is all
right.
just
This is just case study. This is just
right.
case studies.
Right. I'm relaying what we were how we were taught and the way that the case studies and the statistics were brought to us. But a lot of people that in their studies they never really put it in terms of completing a suicide. It was more of getting rid of the pain, getting out of the situation that they were in, whatever it may be.
When let's say somebody is suffering, let's go back to Stacy Monroe's comment. So, you know, a lot of people do suffer from PTSD. It's not even veterans. It's people that have been in tornadoes, hurricanes, any kind of natural disaster, a car accident, anything can have a PTSD. And on top of that, what I also believe is that people try to self-medicate, which includes alcohol, which includes marijuana, which includes pills, which includes anything and everything to try to ease the pain. What do you say about that? I mean, as far as something to that.
So this is kind of from my own studies on the subjects. I was telling you that I'm kind of a nerd. I like to know a lot about a lot. So especially alcohol. Alcohol is a depressant. You may not think that, but it is. Chemically in your brain, it is a depressant. So it is
Absolutely
going to drugs like that. Your opiates are going to flood your brain with dopamine to give you those light, happy feelings. But what's happening in your brain is your brain's trying to counteract that to bring you back to a level playing field. So the more that you stay on those, it's building up. The term escapes me. It's building up the opposite of dopamine, and it's going to when those artificial dopamine levels drop, that opposite of dopamine is going to still be there. So it's going to make all of those bad feelings worse. So it's definitely a battle, and along with a lot of the depression and people that have depression are in situations where they have PTSD, no matter what it's from, or just have a really bad background. That's kind of their go-to to make them feel happy for that few seconds and get them out of the situation. But they don't realize that it is actually reinforcing those bad thoughts and that the negative self-worth, because then you get to the point where you're chemically dependent on it. So to feel like you're normal, you have to have it. So then that just adds something else onto whatever you're already going through.
So it's just stackpiling. It's just you're depressed, and then you add a depressant, and then you add another depressant, and then you add another depressant. You'll never climb out of that hole. And
and then you add all your family.
Jennifer had another. Correct. And then you've got the news, and you've got everybody else. You know, you come home from the service, you're trained to do one thing, and you're constantly looking over your shoulder, and you come home and there's nothing to do because your whole life you've been trained to do this. And let's say you were on your way to being retired in 20 years and you get medically discharged after 15. You know, what if you didn't? What if that's all you wanted to do? I mean, there's depression. And to answer to me personally, hold on, where's she at? Jennifer asked a really question. It was, you feel that veterans are getting enough support with their PTSD? No, not at all. But everybody's trying, as far as I can see. But I mean, that's the problem, is that the media bring it into the situation. They're just gonna sweep your shit underneath the rug and call it a day. Oh, look at that, another veteran died. But hey, look at this, Blake Shelton bought a new boat. Nobody gives a shit. This is not what needs to be addressed on TV. It needs suicide, the PTSD, the medical, everything needs to be addressed. That's my personal opinion, but I mean, that's me. So don't hate me, but that's me.
So again, I'm currently serving in the National Guard for the state of Georgia. I am active on active orders as an instructor, which is one reason that we had to go through that they wanted us to go through the class, was because we deal with students day in and day out from all over the country for 6 weeks at a time. Then we send them home, and then more come in. But as far as Georgia is concerned, I can tell you there has been, at least within our ranks, maybe not outside, but at least within our ranks, there has been a lot more emphasis on PTSD and counseling and all sorts of other benefits, so to speak, have been offered to us, and are continuously offered to us. I know that personally, I've been in the last 8 years, I've been in roughly 4 different units, and every time the first sergeant or the command sergeant major has always, within 2 months, so 2 drill weekends of me being there, personally come to me and just asked how things were at home. So I think that it's gaining speed because of the 22 a day movement. I don't think that without outrage from the general population or more people putting pressure, I don't think that it would be I don't think that it would be as big of a push. But it is gaining traction, at least in the National Guard in Georgia. And a lot of that goes to our adjutant general, which is, for those of you guys who don't know military ranks, it's like our head guy. So he's really big on it. We have a lot of resources at our disposal.
All right, then that's good. And so with this whole pandemic, with people that are stuck at home, people that are losing their jobs, people that are losing their livelihood, the owners of these small businesses that are told that it's too dangerous to open up, but Walmart and Target and everybody else can be open. But what happens to those owners of those shops? I mean, they would suffer from depression, 3 times over, because they're dealing with their employees, they're dealing with everything else. So do you think that maybe they're going, my life insurance, it'll help pay for everything, and then that's it? I mean, do you think the numbers did go up this past 2020? Tell me I'm right.
They did. I after our conversation the other night, I actually tried looking up a more recent statistic than just 2019. It looks like a lot of the data is still coming in for a lot of people. The few that I was able to find, the few studies that I was able to find did see Google searches for not necessarily suicide, but Google searches for depression, for I lost my life savings, for things like that. The Google searches did go up. And definitely, we were talking about it during the course. The numbers that they've seen just from the call centers, the suicide prevention hotline call centers, they have seen the numbers increase in 2020. And this class, I don't know, did you happen to get the link last time so you can throw it up there? It's a LivingWorks class.
No.
So the website, I believe, is livingworks.com. or .org. I'll have to double check that. But if you just Google LivingWorks assist, ASIST, this course is not a pure military course. You can go on their website and fill out a form, and like you with the sheriff's office, you could have them come to the sheriff's office. And anybody who's willing to come sit in, sit in.
I gotta correct you. I gotta correct you, bro. I am with the police department, not the sheriff's office.
Oh God. Sorry. My bad. You got a badge and you can pull me over, right?
Yeah. I'm just trying to make it a little light, because I mean, go ahead, proceed, please. We need to hear this.
To me, that's the same thing
that needs to be told.
But yeah, so you get like again, it's LivingWorks. If you just Google LivingWorks, their website has the whole pathway for assisting life. I just went through one phase, but there are 3 phases. And the whole idea isn't that you are the person's only lifeline. The idea is that you are it's kind of like for us, it's kind of like battlefield triage. You're treating the sucking chest wound, you're treating the bullet wound to keep them alive until they can get more help, more specialized help.
Right.
So you're literally just keeping them safe for now. And if that is, hey, call me tomorrow. Like we had talked about your phone calls, and I know you had mentioned it earlier this morning or earlier in the show, but those phone calls, that whether you realize it or not, that's giving that person or persons is kind of something to look forward to, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's all it takes is somebody saying that they care. Yeah. So
even if I'm having a shitty day, I'll throw a text message out to that person, but I'm not going to let that person know that I've had a shitty day. I'm going to ask them, how are you? You doing okay? Good. And that's your step. That's the step that everybody needs to take. So it's like, what I feel of 2021 is that everybody needs to stop hating on every fucking buddy and start loving on everybody again, the way it used to be, and be like, you know what? I'm going to go holler at my fucking friend that I haven't talked to in 6 fucking years and see how he's doing. Because maybe maybe he might be a shit person, but you know what? At one point, he was actually a decent human being, and we need to talk to him, make sure he's okay. I mean, these numbers are ridiculous, is what it boils down to. And it's not just, military. It's not just people that are in the military that have PTSD. It's law enforcement. It's ER nurses. It's doctors. It's teachers. I mean, think about teachers. They're having to deal with a possible school shooting. They're on edge. You think a school's not on edge anymore? It's just crazy. And 2021 needs to be the year that we started giving a shit again and started caring for each other as a fucking human being, rather than enjoying our cell phones and not each other. You know what I mean? Sorry, I just went on a fucking soapbox.
That was a soapbox that needed to be stood on. No, I mean that's all it is. Sometimes that's all it takes is just showing that you care. And I know from, like I said, it's hard for me to imagine the suicide aspect, but I know from my own kind of bouts with depression in the past, just having that outlet, somebody that says, "Hey, I care about you. How you doing?" Somebody that you can talk to. That's
here. I'm sorry, but back in August of 2019, I failed the state's test for being a full-time law enforcement. I failed it. I busted my ass to get to that point, to be stripped away from me by 2 points. That's one question, 2 points. To be completely stripped. And in that same month, I found out that one of my good friends that I trained jujitsu with, that he died in Hawaii. God damn it, dude. He fell off a balcony like 30 floors up. He just fell off. And I heard that, and it just broke me. So now, not only did I lost my job, I lost a friend of mine, and I don't know where to go. You want to know how many people reached out to me in that month and a half to 2 months of depression? I turned my house or my apartment into a cell. Do you know how many people reached out to me?
One,
two.
two.
Out of all of Facebook world, out of everything, 2 people reached out, and it wasn't even on a daily basis. It was just, hey man, are you okay? I haven't heard from you, because I locked myself up. I didn't want to talk to anybody. So, but it took those. I wasn't having any kind of those thoughts, but I was in a depressed state, and I needed somebody to talk to. Dude, I cried for like a week. So,
yeah.
I mean, it was a shitstorm.
I mean, it's by no means is anything that I'm saying. I'm not trying to say that it's going to be easy or you're always going to be able to help somebody.
Oh no,
you're not, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be a tough. It's a tough hole to climb out of. But
100%.
But wouldn't you rather reach your hand down and get your hand slapped than just not reach your hand down?
Absolutely. I'd rather have my hand cut off because you didn't want it. But guess who put his hand out there? I did.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a brutal thing to even think about, because it could be someone's daughter, it's someone's brother, it's someone's sister, it's someone's mom, it's someone's dad. And all it takes is a stranger to look at somebody differently and go, you know what, sir, you actually look really good today. Man, keep up that look. And you never know. You might have turned that sumbitch right around. You have no idea.
So this is before all of this. This is just kind of how I did things. I was a loss prevention manager in between active duty, military order type things. I was a loss prevention manager at Walmart. And my employees always used to ask me, why are you always smiling? Why? Well, at one store, I won't say I was like this all the time at other stores, but they always used to ask me, why are you always smiling? And well, my goal was to make sure that everyone that I talked to in the store that day smiled back at me. And I mean a real smile. I don't mean just a hey. No. I mean
a real smile.
I literally sat and told dad jokes for almost 30 minutes to a group of people just because they wouldn't smile at me. So, but you never know. No. You never know when something that small can turn around somebody's day. And it's not just, I'm not just talking about suicide here. I'm talking about just turn around somebody's day. I mean, I've had mornings where I have a 2-year-old. I've had mornings where I work an hour and a half away, got a 2-year-old. No, I've had mornings where I just don't want to. Nope, I'm going back to bed.
Right.
I go to work, and my boss at the unit where I work now, my old boss, she's always so upbeat and happy, and just her coming in and smiling and being peppy just turned my day around, just because it kind of forced me to laugh. And it's infectious. So it got me to stop thinking about my morning and stuff like that and just be in the moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And and medication, I believe in medication, Carrie's mama. I believe in medication. 100%. especially if it helps. I mean, because then you've got people that if you've got ADD or ADHD and everything else, and then you add depression on top of it, and it's like, man, you got like a trifecta of holy cow, what's going on? You know, and I get it. You know, my heart goes out to each and every one of anybody that's dealing with something, but nobody needs to go at it alone. You know, just because you're a man doesn't, you know what the issue too is, Alex, and I'm sorry, but you know what I also find out is that people, when you're growing up, you've got your dads are telling you, men don't cry, we don't cry. So here we are being little kids sucking it up. So that carries on as into adulthood because men don't cry. That's what we're built to say, you know, and that's a stigma because then it's, well, if I'm having a shitty day or I just found out one of my good friends died or I lost my job, but I can't cry because that's not what men do, you know, and no, man. And that's not what needs to happen. You need to let it out.
So that's one of the things that, has been talked about over and over and over through my military experience. And again, this is post OIF1, OIF2. I didn't come in to the military. I've been in some form of military since 2006, but I didn't come in the original invasions or anything like that. But there was always the stigma behind suicide or depression in general is, I'm a man, I can handle it. I don't need to talk to anybody. If I talk to somebody, they're going to think I'm weak, or they're going to think
I'm weak.
Yeah, they're going to think they're going to kick me out of the military. They're going to make fun of me, whatever. Well, and when I first came in, it was that way too. It was just a thing, kind of like if you don't drink 10 tequila shots in one sitting, you're not a man. But we won't talk about that. We won't talk about that side of the military. But
no,
it's
on another show, bro.
Yeah. But it's maybe a Friday night show. It's more it's more open, I would say now. It still definitely isn't where it needs to be. But it's definitely, because we've been talking about it more and more over the course of it, for me at least, the last 4 to 6 years. It hasn't been it's been a lot more open. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the way to word that. It's because by no means is that stigma gone. I'm not saying that at all. It is still there.
Right.
But I know that I've been fortunate in the leadership that I've had, being told over and over and over, it's okay if you need help. We're here to help. Unfortunately, not all leaders are like that. But I have definitely been fortunate. So I know that in the units that I've served in, it's been more open, more progressive, so to say, as far as and it's not just suicide. It's everything. From, because in the military, just like any type of police work, you have a PT test that you have to continuously pass. Well, just because you don't max it every time doesn't mean that you're any less of a person, any less of a man,
right,
any less of a woman than the girl who did. And that's kind of
right.
getting that way too. But yeah. It's a work in progress, and at least it's being talked about now.
Yeah. It needs to be, you know, and that's why I decided, you know what, because I get on TikTok a lot on my off day. I make some content. Some of it's funny. Some of it's like, what the hell is going on? But I also look inside. I also go into other people's lives, and I just sit back and I watch. And Alex, do you know how many people I see on a daily that are talking about? I cut a little bit deeper today, or I pulled a gun out, today. And I'm like, my heart is just getting torn up because when you click on their bio, a lot of them show how old they are. Do you know how old they are? They're like 15, 16 years old, and that's how they're talking. And nobody is responding to these people. And here I am going, hey man, but stop, don't do it. Please. Your tomorrow is better than your yesterday.
Oh yeah.
You got a lot more to do tomorrow than what you did yesterday. What happened yesterday? It's yesterday. That's why it's back there. You focus on tomorrow. Let's get tomorrow going. And it just kills me to see that. And then it's like, where's their parents? But then again, it goes back with the COVID. Schools are being shut down. What if schools are the kids' way? What if they're being abused at home and the schools are the way out? Now they have to sit at home with the abused drunk dad or the abused drunk mom or.
So to me, that all
Boy.
goes back, but to me, that all goes back to what we've been saying this whole time. One person can make a difference.
Yeah.
One person.
Yeah.
One. Sometimes that's all it takes. I'm not saying it's every time, but one person can be the difference. I know that's a cliche, but it's true.
Oh yeah. And when I do have the two individuals that reach out to me or I reach out to them, man, it humbles me because I feel deep down that I'm helping somebody, and for them to keep calling me and keep texting me, man, I'm always going to answer that phone call. And anybody over there in the comment section, I got to get used to this camera. So anybody over there in the comment section, they know that they can contact me. I'm not an asshole. I can be an asshole, but that's anybody else, but I'm not. If you want to reach out, and I definitely don't judge, because the way I see it, who am I to judge when I can't walk on water? So, it just takes a smile, or it takes you look pretty today, or, but then it's just too many people that just don't want to get involved. And that's the problem. We don't need to be involved.
Yeah. So I know this is something that we talked about the other day, but so Jess S just commented, I never realized how many people loved and cared for me until I almost made that permanent decision. Well, I know we had talked about it the other day. A suicide isn't a one person. It's not a one person thing. You've got to think about the people that are in that person's life. So the numbers that we were talking about earlier. So the 48,344 reported suicides. How many people in our country did that affect?
Right.
I mean, that's a lot of people.
God, man.
So it's to me, and I know that suicide, I think when I looked at it, on average is the second or third leading cause of death in the United States. Somebody fact check me. Second. I mean,
second.
That's so a decision is the second leading cause of death in the United States. So we want to talk about all these we want to talk about all these other epidemics that are coming up. I'm willing to bet more people committed suicide than died of COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
I mean, it's, I was reading, there's a statistic that I actually have sitting right here. Believe it or not, this like just papers that me, Wendy, and everybody have jumped in on. So you want to hear something crazy? You guys, you've got to hear this. So the number 2 leading cause of death between 10 and 14-year-olds is suicide, with 596 deaths. 596 between the ages of 10 and 14. 10. I was thinking of playing with my GI Joes at the age of 10.
Yeah.
But again, that goes
Yeah.
with it's possibly a parenting, or we've discussed that. This is the brutal, honest truth of what's happening in not just the United States. We're just talking the U.S. This is bigger. This is the world that we can talk about, but we're just talking about the United States. It's insane to sit back and think about stuff like that, man.
Yeah. So I know we've said it a thousand times. Well, I'm looking at a few of the comments.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of times,
really good comments, and I'm trying to like ping them, and it's hard.
Yeah. It's so this is definitely one of those touchy subjects, and it's a really hard subject, not only to talk about, but to realize that it is as much of a issue. I don't like that term, but I can't think right now. So it's as big of a deal as it is. But in particular, I know I've said it a couple of times, but there are definitely people that no matter what you say, no matter what you do, there's nothing that you could have said, nothing that you could have done, and you really, I know that you've heard this a thousand times, but you really can't you can't blame yourself for it. You can't.
You can't. I have no comment. I mean, you really want to try to blame yourself, but you really can't. Even honestly, personally, I've never been a victim of somebody that was close to me that that went through suicide. I've never been the victim of that, so I don't know how I would react. I'd probably freak out, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
And seeing some of the comments, I don't know. They're scrolling like somebody's just throwing down a scroll, and it's mind blowing because what's funny, it's not even funny. What's ironic, Alex, is that, let's see, there's 20 people in here on the live, and maybe more than half, if not a majority, have been through something.
Yeah. So in the class that I took, one of the first things that we did is anybody in the room that had a close suicide or had thoughts of suicide. There were 18 of us in the room, all currently members of the Georgia Army National Guard. Out of 18, I was literally the only one that did not have a close experience with a suicide. Out of 18.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And out of that 18, I think it was four or five. We did it anonymously. I wouldn't share their names even if I knew. But four or five had said that they had thoughts of suicide out of 18.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
It's a real thing. It is a real thing. This is a real epidemic. Um, it's you've got exactly, Jennifer, exactly.
Yeah, I literally just read
God
that.
dang it. We don't talk about survivor's remorse because you feel that what could you have done differently? What could you have done? You know, this is a tough subject. This really is. I didn't think. I mean, I knew it was going to be tough, but I'm really baffled by a lot of this. To be honest with you, I really
And I
am.
haven't. So I don't have any of the survivor's guilt or survival's remorse over any suicide related things, but I do have it for other aspects. And it's one of those things. Even me, like I said at the beginning, I'm a very logical thinking person. I'm very math science oriented, and even for me, it's hard for me to just accept the fact that I couldn't do anything. I mean, it's who I am to help. That's who I am,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very very difficult.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
see
So
the comment Piper said it we just said that it one person
yeah,
can make or break you basically.
yeah,
But it also takes that one word,
yep.
that one friggin' word just to get them
When
out of it. That's why I'm on a lot of my lives. I tell people, you guys got to boss yourselves up. You have to build yourself. You have to fix yourself before you can go be with somebody else.
So one thing, and I know that I'm not going to be on every show, but I want you to hold some of these accountable for. Me and you talked about it
Absolutely.
before, but I'm going to challenge each one of you because it was extremely difficult for me to do. Take 3 minutes, 3 minutes during the day, doesn't matter when, 3 minutes, and literally do either do nothing. So sit there and think about being on a beach. Don't think about what you got to do today. Don't think about work. Don't think about your social media. Don't think about
Nothing.
anything else. Think about sitting on a beach for 3 minutes. And then if you can do that, I couldn't, so I'm still stuck on that one. If you can do that, if you can manage that one day, the next day, 5 minutes. 5 minutes, do something for yourself. For yourself. Nobody
Yeah.
else. Nobody else. Just for
Yeah.
you. If it's you want to get a bath, go get a bath. But for 5 minutes, do something
Yeah.
for just you with nobody else in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, taking care of yourself before you can help anybody else, before you can do for anybody else, your house needs to be in order.
Mm-hmm.
Self-care is very important, especially with the things that are going on in the world today. Not only pandemic, politically, but anything you have going on personally. You need that time for yourself.
You need that reflection. You need the inhale the good shit and exhale the bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, just in layman's terms, and that's probably the best terms I know. Inhale the good shit and exhale the bullshit. And Stacy, it's the what ifs that break you. Yeah, because you know what it is also, it's the unknown. That's a whole nother issue too. It's the unknown, the what ifs. We could play a what if game all day. And let me tell you, I love what ifs. But it's you gotta get out of the head, the mental state of the what if. Like, what if I did this wrong, or what if I did that wrong? When I was on patrol and I had a gentleman, he was 47-year-old, unconscious and unresponsive. Do you know I played in my own head for about a week? What if I didn't get there fast enough? Dude, I got there in about 2.5 minutes. I was going 130.
That's pretty
What
good for a
if
cop.
I didn't take that? Yeah. What if I didn't get there fast enough? What if I didn't do my CPR correctly? What if I didn't? That killed me. And I'm just a police officer, and that killed me. So I didn't sleep for 2 weeks until it was time for his burial. And my way of escaping was escorting his family to the site. And that was my closure. I think about him. I mean, it happened March of last year. So yeah. So anyway, it's a brutal topic, and I think that we actually really did a good job on this topic. I think, and I really, like you said, Alex, I really want everybody to challenge each other and inhale the good shit and exhale the bullshit.
I think you should do a breathing exercise at the end of every one of your shows from here on out.
Right? Every week, y'all get ready. We're going to be breathing for about 3 minutes prior to every show. Let's see. Stacy says, hold on. Sorry, Stacy. No one tells you that when you break, shatter. Then no one else. It's a choice. Right? Decide to put yourself back together. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. But and then the days that you feel like shit, the way I'm just going to put it to you, the days that you feel like shit and you don't want to do that, holler at somebody. Be like, hey, I'm kind of under the weather. Guess what? I'll give you 5 minutes of my time. I am not that damn important.
So that's another thing that I kind of wanted people to take away from this, and those that are on now and those that may watch in the future, is talk about this stuff openly. I know it's a rough subject. I know it is, but the more you talk about it, the more you're gonna get people that are in those mindsets to reach out.
You have to. I'm a very open person. Like, I'll discuss anything. I was on a live one time, and a guy by the name of Ranger Davis, I believe, he says debates are for winning or losing, and discussions are for education. And dude, I'm all about discussions, because everybody needs to be educated. Period.
Oh, yeah.
The more we talk about certain things, the easier it feels for all of us, and the more we can all open up and actually collectively and nationally be enthralled with each other. And guess what? There won't be such bullshit that's happening, and everybody would actually get along.
Oh yeah. It'd be a more prosperous nation. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Well, Alex, it's been an awesome and a pleasure to have you back on the show, man.
thanks.
I really enjoy having you here. We'll definitely do another episode,
hopefully
with
not
all the
one
other credentials.
Not one that's so crazy. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to be lighthearted.
Yeah, I know.
But Don't worry. Before I get off, I do want to plug.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I do want to plug one more time. It's if you Google LivingWorks and then assist, ASIST, in case my accent is a little bad for you, LivingWorks, assist. That's where you can their website. You can go on and actually register to have them come out to your business, or even just go on there and ask. They've got a ton of contacts, a ton of counselors, not only that are willing to talk to you about suicide, but are just willing to give you information about how you can help people. So I'm sorry I had to do that one last plug before we sign off.
No, you're good. I'm trying to. I'm letting my computer's lagging up a little bit, so I'm trying to let it scroll across the bottom. This is a stigma that everybody needs to talk about. And like I said, the more we talk about it, the more we discuss it, the better understanding that we'll probably get a grasp on, and the more that everybody will help each other. Because in the end, we're all that's it. I mean, that's it. It's a tough subject, and not a lot of people want to talk about it. Not a lot of people want to discuss it. And that's okay. Challenge accepted. Challenge accepted. Like I said, your tomorrow is better than your yesterday. Oh, yeah. So do what?
I was just agreeing with you.
But I mean, it is what it is. We just got to keep fighting for it. That's cool, man. So with all due respect, I cut it the show off. We've been knocking on the door of an hour, and I really enjoyed having you on here, Alex. I really did. We're going to continue to do great things in 2021 for sure. We're going to kick 2021's ass, because 2020 kicked everybody's ass. All right. I'll see you soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the show where that's it. But before we do, I do have to plug in a few things, because everyone else here on the Real Lounge. For one, it is going to be the podcast by Spider Head of the Real Lounge. Just give me some tips and pointers, and everything. Much appreciated. Their show is Wednesday nights at 8 Central, and also to not forget my friend Nick, and Jess, the mess when Nick on Tuesday Central, 8 Central. Sorry, guys, without y'all, I wouldn't go into huge shots from me out, and did you get you guys another good it never is.